She wanted him as mommy's special little boy.
Yeah, but you can't have that forever.
No, you can't.
But a hologram,
yeah.
I guess, wouldn't learn.
Hello, welcome to episode 9 of Kicking Trees. We're continuing our review of all the Superman movies. Today, we are talking Superman 2. So first off, easy question again. Did you like it?
I liked it way more than the first one.
Really?
I don't know way more, but I liked it more.
Okay. See, I like the first one more, I think.
Why is that?
The first one was more cohesive and cleaner, and it wasn't as silly, and it was just better made.
You don't think the first one was as silly?
No.
How is this one sillier?
There's some stuff at the end where Zod and friends are terrorizing Metropolis.
Yeah.
And they should be in full terror, the civilians.
Yeah.
But instead, they're just doing goofy stuff. The city's basically under a terrorist attack, and then the civilians are just chilling at the diner on the phone.
That is true.
People are flying through buildings. Men are being thrown through buildings. There's explosions.
The first one has its silly moments as well, though.
It was all realistic silly in the first one. It was silly moment. It wasn't world-breaking silliness to me.
Okay. I see what you're saying then.
Throughout this
They
one,
were going for little gags in this one.
yeah, it was more little gags.
Yeah.
The first one had actual jokes that made me laugh more.
Yeah, the first one was funnier for sure.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
The jokes in the first one actually hit.
Yeah.
This one did have moments I found funny, like when Luthor is in prison with Otis, and it shows there. First of all, I like that Lex Luthor, he accessorizes with his prison outfit.
Yeah.
If you notice, he had like a little kerchief on.
I don't remember that.
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And then they show he and Otis's cell. Otis's cell's like normal, and then Luthor has leopard print sheets and blankets on there.
And then there was also when Otis was weighing too much for the balloon.
Yeah, even physics are fat shaming Otis.
Yeah.
So that was a drawback of this one. Not enough Otis.
I was upset actually when he abandoned Otis there. I was hoping he'd be in the whole movie, just like last time. But then even...
So he needs someone to insult.
Yeah, but then he wasn't in it that much either, Lex.
Yeah, this is true. So I, of course, watched this in 4 sittings over multiple days, as the creators truly intended.
Yes. 4 intermissions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Feora existed in the comics before this movie, but she only had like a handful of pre-crisis appearances. So then when they wanted Zod to have a gal pal, they made Ursa. And now people use those two characters interchangeably most of the time, but they are different characters.
This was Feora, wasn't it?
This was Ursa.
This was Ursa?
Yeah. Man of Steel has Feora. But
Yeah, I think I must have just been not listening, and I call her Feora in all my notes because I just assumed it was Feora.
yeah.
Okay.
Man of Steel calls her Feora, and that added to the confusion. But Ursa is Zod's like wife, right-hand woman,
Okay.
and Feora has her own thing going on.
Okay.
So that is the difference between Feora and Ursa. Feora was in the Phantom Zone for her own crimes. Ursa was in the Phantom Zone for following Zod's crimes.
They should be lovers instead.
So now that you mention that, I think Luthor and Otis were prison lovers.
Oh,
I was getting that vibe.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
for sure.
Yeah. And I like how the Phantom Zone is a glass pane prison thing.
It looks cool.
And it looks scary.
Yeah, it does.
That's
I don't
a good
want to be in there.
No, that's a cool little sci-fi concept.
Yeah.
And then I love me when a sequel movie recaps the first movie in the opening credits.
I like that too. It also made the credits way better.
Way more interesting.
In the first one, it was just the names and stuff in space. That was hard to get through. It was like staring at nothing.
This was better.
Yeah.
For that. The Spider-Man trilogy, the Raimi trilogy, they also do that.
They do it well.
The second one has Alex Ross doing little
Right.
arts from
Once
the first
again, some
movie.
parallels between those and these.
When they show the opening skyline, it's clearly New York.
Yeah.
Do they ever call the city Metropolis in these movies?
I don't know.
I wasn't looking for that through
Me
my
neither.
full watch through, but I'm sure they do. Let us know if they do.
Yeah.
Silent confirmation, because the Twin Towers were in that skyline.
I didn't notice that.
They were.
Maybe the Twin Towers are in Metropolis.
Oh, they're quadruplets.
The quadruplet towers?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh.
But that's not what I meant. But yeah, okay.
In this alt history.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have a note here. All the workers, all the employees at the Daily Planet are rude. Clark Kent's just coming into work saying hi to them. They all ignore him.
Yeah, he's too friendly for them. And I think they insult him sometimes
They
for
do.
being so friendly, yeah.
They're just rude people.
They are. But that's city life for you.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like it's for me.
No, I don't
I'm
think
not
so.
big
You wouldn't
city.
survive in this big city.
I'm too nice a guy.
Yeah, you would be like Clark Kent getting bullied, except you don't have Superman powers, so you would just be bullied.
I would be Clark Kent for 10 minutes in this movie.
Yes.
But that's the Clark Kent who fucks.
This is the Clark Kent that Lois Lane is completely uninterested in until she finds out he's Superman.
But no power Clark Kent's the one that gets laid.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
We're not there yet in our notes, though.
No, you're skipping ahead.
Yeah. So just a little scene that I thought was funny is Perry knows there's a hydrogen bomb in Paris.
Yes.
And he sent Lois there on assignment.
Yes.
Right? But then when a cop mentions the hydrogen bomb in front of Lois, she's like, what? That could level the city. What are we doing here?
Suggesting that Perry did not mention that to her?
No, he definitely did not. He knew, and he sent her to die.
And then Clark says that seems dangerous, and Perry's like, it's part of the job.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know.
He sent her there as a sacrifice, a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, but I'm sure they got a hell of a story out of it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And when she is there, actually, she's a real badass climbing the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I did like that.
In heels.
Going under the elevator shaft,
Yeah.
too. That was cool.
I was thinking like that was way cooler than when Amy Adams is like swimming in dark water trying to find kryptonite or something in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember her swimming in dark water to find something. I don't remember what it is.
why she was there either. Oh, was Superman drowning in that? Because
No
the
way.
kryptonite was in the water. There's a lot of references to this in Man of Steel and the first one.
Wasn't she finding the kryptonite?
I have no idea. We'll talk about that when we get to Batman versus Superman.
Can't wait.
Yeah. When Superman saving the people in the Eiffel Tower, I like how they show Superman. He doesn't save just hostages, okay? He saves hostage nuns.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was nuns right off the bat. Yeah.
It's just to show how good a guy he is.
Yeah.
How good his rescues are.
And how bad the bad guys were.
Mhm,
They catch
exactly.
nuns hostage.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
And then when they cut back to the planet, Lois says hi to Clark because Lois is polite.
she is polite.
The only polite employee there.
Oh, just more polite. I don't know if she's polite in general. She's a little rude.
This is true. Yeah. And then when they show Lois at the planet, she has an office now, not just a desk. She had just a desk in the first movie. And I salute you, Daily Planet, for promoting a woman in the 1980s.
Very important.
It is.
Ahead of its time.
They were.
Also, I thought his flying looked way better in this one. In the first one, he was like lifted by a wire and he would kind of like wobble around as he was moving around. I thought they kept him much more steady in this one, and it actually looked like he was flying and not being carried around.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Well, I did.
Okay, you have a keen eye,
I
sir.
do. I have a keen eye for flying.
I did notice in this one there were some harsh cuts between scenes.
Yes.
Like this. And there was two kinds of cuts. There was a fadeaway cut and then there was an actual cut. And the actual cuts were less noticeable and the fadeaways were usually bad.
Yeah, and it was choppy and it didn't seem like the scene was supposed to end yet.
No. And sometimes people they wouldn't even be quite done their sentence.
No, yeah, I noticed that too. It was weird.
And then there would be, when the next scene started, there would just be silence for a bit and then the music would start.
Yeah, there was some weird choppiness there.
And I think I read maybe somewhere that there was two directors on this, but we don't research things.
No.
So maybe there was two directors, let us know. And I think that's where that would have happened. And then for the difference between Clark Kent and Superman, at this, near the beginning, Lois says to Clark, what else are friends for?
Yeah.
So that's what Clark Kent gets. But in the first one, Superman gets, do you fuck?
Yeah.
So that's tough for Clark Kent.
It is. And then I mentioned in the last one, even like if I were Clark Kent, I'd be getting really jealous of Superman. And he is in this movie getting really jealous of Superman.
He is. Okay, yeah. You knew where this plot was going.
Yeah. And also last time you were wondering about the sun, the yellow sun, the red sun. In this one, Zod mentioned the yellow sun
Yeah, he
giving
did.
them power.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
When they're on the moon, I believe.
That seemed intentionally mentioned.
Yeah, like maybe they were like, we probably should have mentioned that.
Like we left that out.
Yeah.
They probably got a lot of grief for not including that in
Yeah.
the first one, I bet.
It is a main thing of his.
It is.
Yeah.
Also in this one, no Jor-El.
I liked
Just
that.
the mom.
I really liked
Because you hated Jor-El
He
in
was
the
so
first
boring,
one. Yeah.
and I actually thought halfway through, I was like, "Man, this is going by way faster." And I was like, "No, Jor-El."
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
a correlation.
Yeah.
So Zod, Ursa, and Non, they get broken out of the Phantom Zone by the hydrogen bomb going off in space, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go to the moon and they start terrorizing some astronauts.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good stuff.
I liked that
Yeah.
too.
You could almost do, because you know how a couple summers ago there was that Dracula movie, Voyage of the Demeter. I don't remember what it was called.
No.
Because Dracula took a boat from Transylvania to England, probably, some in the book.
Okay.
And then they covered that part of the story, and it's him terrorizing the people on that boat during the boat
Oh,
ride.
okay. That's fun.
That's what this moon scene made me think of. It's like, you could probably make a full horror movie about Zod and friends terrorizing these astronauts.
Yeah, you could.
That would be a good movie.
Yeah. Also, it was pretty brutal deaths of like ripping off the thing and letting them die and then kicking them off the moon like that.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
People were dying. And then I like how playful Zod and his friends are.
What do you mean?
It's like on the moon, they just killed all the astronauts, and then Zod took the time to take their little moon buggy and drive it around on there.
Also, Ursa kept on taking patches. And
Yeah, I noted that too. When they're terrorizing those sheriffs, she takes both their badges.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then they're terrorizing those military guys, and she takes their rank things. He puts them on her. They're playful.
They are.
And curious.
It made her outfit fabulous as well.
It did.
Yeah.
And it just made me think of Man of Steel. This was such a more interesting Zod and friends. Because if you're all powerful on a strange planet, I think you would just be taking it in.
Yeah, just because you're evil doesn't mean you have to be all serious. Like,
it doesn't.
Yeah, they could be like this and still have fun with it.
Because why not?
Evil people are probably more likely to be having fun.
They are. Because it's a strange planet.
Yeah.
They're exploring.
Yeah, and then they're suddenly like, I'm a god to these people. I can do what I want. I'm going to have some fun.
And that's what they do.
I was wondering why Lex and Tessmacher, the woman, were working together.
I have that as well. Like, why?
They don't say.
No, they don't. He's just okay with her betraying him.
Yeah, and also she betrayed him for a reason. She's like, yeah, I'll work with you again. I'll break you out of prison. You were going to kill my mom, but I'll let you out of prison.
Her, I can believably see helping him.
Because he's manipulated her so much.
Yeah. They're in an abusive relationship of some kind.
So when she came back to him, okay.
Yeah, I don't see why he would accept her help.
I think Lex, like, after getting out of prison, possibly would have killed her.
She just disappears.
Yeah, because she did betray him, and then she just disappears, so...
We're confirmed that Otis is in prison. Miss Tessmacher.
She just disappears.
Probably dead.
After he's done getting help from her.
Yeah. Then, when they're at so Lois and Clark, they go on assignment at Niagara Falls, and then at Niagara, what are they on assignment for? Because of someone scamming newlywed couples, so then they go to a newlywed suite and everything. Then at Niagara Falls, a kid jumps off over the rails.
Yes.
And then I thought that dummy was funny.
There was a dummy?
The kid falling was a dummy.
Oh, okay.
And I just thought that looked funny.
I didn't notice it looked funny.
It was a little chuckle for me. It reminded me of, what's that alien movie that Paul Rudd always plays on Conan?
Mac and Me.
It reminded me of Mac and Me when
I can see that.
He's falling into the water. And then also of note, at the Niagara Falls, they were on the Canadian side of the border.
Oh, really?
The Canadian flag was there.
Oh, that is fun.
There was no U.S. flag.
That's pretty fun.
I think they probably intended it to be the U.S. side, but I'm willing to bet they filmed most of this in Canada.
You think they just didn't realize there's a Canadian flag?
Yeah, because it's at like the very top.
Oh, yeah.
And it's slightly cropped. So my guess is that might not have been in the original theatrical cut, but because of our new screen showing more. That's just all theory.
Yeah.
Nothing to prove that. Except the Canadian side of Niagara Falls, that was fact. There's no U.S. flag. It's just the Canadian flag.
Also, after that, when Lois is trying to prove he's Superman, trying to kill herself to like prove a point is also pretty badass.
And that's so Lois Lane.
It is.
That's classic Lois Lane.
And then to rebuttal that, actually him staying as Clark the whole time when she's like going down the waterfall, also badass. He's like, I'm not gonna let you win right now.
Yeah, he nearly lets her drown.
Yeah.
Just to teach her a lesson.
Yeah. All he did was break a branch off.
Yeah.
The rest was up to her.
He let her suffer longer than he had to.
Yeah, he's like, you gonna try that again or what?
Yeah. I dare you.
Yeah.
You'll die that time. I like when Luthor's at the Fortress of Solitude, when he learns that the Kryptonians escaped the Phantom Zone. He says, perhaps they'll have the same contempt for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
Luthor has just some great lines. He's just purely evil.
He's a funny guy.
He's pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, did you notice his mom said Krypton instead of Krypton?
Yeah, I did.
I thought that was weird too.
That's like Tarkin not knowing how to say Leia in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a weird thing for them to let happen.
It's definitely something they noticed in the editing room. I guess they could have dubbed over it though. Okay, no one noticed, I guess, if it made it into the final cut.
Krypton.
And then when Zod and friends arrive on Earth, Zod lands in some water and he's like, what a strange surface they have.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. But then Zod gets a Christ reference when he flies just slightly above and starts walking on the water.
Yeah.
Superman gets no Christ references in these. Only Zod got one.
I thought that was weird too. I thought, why do it on the villain?
If you're going to do it at all.
Yeah.
I disagree with Zack Snyder doing it in Man of Steel and the other ones.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should put it in there, but it's just...
If you are doing it. They did it with Zod?
Yeah.
Interesting. What message are you trying to send here?
Yeah. Also, when they first landed down, when Ursa picked up that snake shouldn't
bit her. Yeah.
Bit her. It shouldn't have hurt her. But then she was like, ow, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird too.
Maybe they didn't get enough yellow sun exposure yet.
They were already ripping guys' spacesuits apart and everything.
But Non didn't have his heat vision yet when they arrived on Earth, and he has it later.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's a fair explanation.
There you go.
That makes sense. I also thought the Zod trio was just a Kryptonian version of the trio from the last movie, with Zod being Lex and then one big dumb guy and then the side woman character as well.
I see what you're saying, and you were correct.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was also wondering during this, because Zod looked to be the same height as Ursa, so I was wondering, is Zod short? But I googled the actors for both Zod and Ursa, and Ursa's just pretty tall.
However, what's their height?
Zod is 6 feet, and Ursa is a little over 5'10", but she's wearing heels that are at least 2 inch. So that's why they're the same height.
Oh, yeah.
And then I also noticed with Non, he's wearing platform shoes. He's not that big a guy. There's a scene where you
He's wide, though.
He is pretty wide.
Yeah.
There's a scene when he's talking to that kid, and you can see his feet, you can see the big platform shoes.
No. That's funny.
So he looks like kind of Frankenstein-y.
And also, I think once Lois does find out Clark is Superman, he should have some concern that she doesn't truly love him because she only loves Superman.
Okay, see, I think that concern would exist now. But back in the day,
love is love.
he's landing a lady.
Yeah, they did have healthiest of relationships. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. He was just excited. Like, he didn't have that.
And I guess he's a virgin at this point still.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, let's get this going.
Yeah.
She loves some part of me at least.
Yeah. He wanted to get that ball rolling. Yeah. Then when they're terrorizing those sheriffs, you know, Zod's heat vision is also telekinesis.
Yeah.
Because that one sheriff has a shotgun.
Yeah, and he brings it over
and
to
it gets hot. So he lets go, and then,
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
So this one has a lot more what's happening here powers.
Yeah.
That aren't typical.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And then when they're in the town, Zod again has telekinesis, but this time it's a finger ray.
Yeah, that also, I was wondering about that. But then also during that, I was thinking, God, their outfits are amazing.
Yeah, they looked fabulous.
They did. I think I want one.
They had it looked like a little pajama.
Yeah.
But then they had some good chest hair showing too.
I think I would want to wear Ursa's mostly because I like her arm
cuts.
Yeah.
And then like the thigh cuts too.
Yeah. She had cool slits in there.
When she was on the presidential desk.
Yeah.
I was like, my God.
Showing a lot of leg.
You clearly noticed.
I did. Well, you mentioned it. You brought it up. Since Zod was doing his own thing for a lot of the movie, it was mostly just like good Clark and Lois moments, which I liked as well. It's full of just character moments.
Yeah, because Clark doesn't even find out about that trio terrorizing Earth until the very end of the
very
movie.
End, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty late on that one.
Yeah.
On saving the day.
But they were really cool just standing through a military, like actually just standing there while the military threw missiles at them and stuff.
Yeah, those were well done effects.
Yeah.
They did feel powerful.
Yeah.
And then at the fortress, when he brings Clark brings Lois to the fortress after she discovers his secret identity, and then they have dinner. Now, the fortress kind of built and grew itself when he threw a crystal into the lake in the North Pole. And it is confirmed in the North Pole. That's important for later.
Yeah.
But then he has a dinner set there, and he did get flowers,
somewhere.
Come back. They only show him getting flowers, but he comes with like a bag. Do you think the fortress grew this dinner set?
I think when he met Lois, he grabbed the dinner set and kept it at the fortress.
Just in case.
Ever since,
okay.
Yeah.
And then I like that Superman loses his powers in Superman 2, just like how Spider-Man loses his powers in Spider-Man 2. So that was probably an inspiration for that story.
I was thinking that, but I don't like how he lost his powers because it didn't make sense.
Superman or Spider-Man?
Superman. What? He loves Lois, so he can't have his superpowers? There's no reason he needs to lose his powers. He chooses
his mom's ultimatum there.
Yeah, he chooses to lose all his powers because he loves a woman. You don't have to listen to everything your dead hologram mom says. Yeah. Just keep your powers and have a girlfriend.
And why would they want that for him?
Yeah.
Bad parenting for
Bad
Jor-El
parenting, yeah.
Laura L.
They just weren't ready for him to have a girlfriend.
No, they weren't.
And they're like, if you do, you can't have anything.
She wanted him as mommy's special little boy.
Yeah, but you can't have that forever.
No, you can't.
But a hologram, I guess, wouldn't learn. Also, when he popped champagne just by looking at it, that was arousing.
Yeah?
That was very smooth.
You think that was a real panty dropper there?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I like that when he steps in the power getting ridder machine.
Yeah.
Lois just looks exasperated. She's like, oh my God, why would he do this?
Why didn't she say something?
She should have spoke out.
She would have wait, you don't have to do that. That's a little extreme.
Yeah, we can just be boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah. We don't even need a title, really. We can just be really good friends.
Yeah.
But no, he went that extra step.
Also, how did they get home after that? He took
I'm
powers.
I have more notes before that, but I have a lot of notes on that too. Okay. I like that he went in a machine to get rid of his powers, just like when Superman fought Muhammad Ali. Made me think of that. Did you read that? That was in our high school library.
I didn't read that.
Our high school library, for some reason, had the hardcover trade paperback for Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
And they didn't have a huge comic section either.
No, they didn't do it.
It was like that, The Dark Knight Returns, and Batman Earth 1.
And then I like how the depower machine changes his clothes. Because he goes in, he's dressed as Superman, then it depowers him, and he walks out. He's like
Also,
wearing
his
denim.
Hair was way worse as well.
When he lost his power?
Yeah, I thought he just looked horrible after. Not horrible,
Oh,
I guess,
yeah.
but his hair was like, I don't know, it didn't look
He
good.
had like a slight broccoli style going on.
Yeah, I did not
I
like it
liked
for
it.
him.
It was more modern.
I guess it was,
Like
yeah.
that's a modern hairstyle that he had. And then when Clark and Lois, when they smash, there's this really shiny, luxurious bed.
Yeah?
Did the Fortress build that bed?
He must have brought it at
You
some
think
point.
he brought
but
that
also
bed?
it looked like Kryptonian fabric.
It did.
I was also thinking like there's no way that was comfortable to bang on.
No,
if you get
because it's,
sweaty
like,
at all,
hanging
you're
from the
sticking
ceiling
to them.
slightly.
Yeah.
It did look sticky.
Yeah.
But I did like that they were both confirmed naked and confirmed to have smashed.
Yeah, that was nice.
Because superhero movies are pretty sexless now.
Yeah, they are. They could use some sex.
Yeah,
Yeah, they could.
Because Batman 89 also has confirmed Batman has sex in it.
When did the sex stop? Did
Yeah.
Mary Jane and Tobey Maguire have sex?
No, they don't.
So it was pretty early on then.
Yeah, they don't show them in bed in those movies, in the Spider-Man movies.
That might have been when sex stopped for superheroes movies.
Well, Batman has sex in The Dark Knight Returns with Talia.
Rises.
Yes, The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, okay.
In front of the fireplace.
Well, Batman's always got to be sexing, I guess.
Batman's always banging, okay. But Spider-Man for sure didn't. And then in the MCU, I think Iron Man's the only confirmed one.
Is it even confirmed? When is he
In the first movie.
just like going around a corner with some girls or something?
In the first movie, Pepper wakes him and a random woman up in his bed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
And like Thor and Jane were pretty all over each other, so probably.
Yeah, but you only ever see them kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any sex scenes really.
Yep, just this and Howard the Duck.
Yeah, there is Howard the Duck. I remember that when I was a kid. That was a confusing scene because I thought it was kind of erotic, but then I was like, but there's a duck here. But I was at such an age where I was like, it's sexual activity though, so it is inherently erotic. Yeah, it was weird for me.
Yeah, it set you down a dark path.
It did.
You-
I'm out now.
No. You were on the path of thorns.
Yes.
And then I like how Zod and friends, one of their powers is they start terrorizing America. They fly over Mount Rushmore and then they shoot a single ray at each one and it resculpts Mount Rushmore
They're
into their
perfect
faces.
sculptors.
I think it was a sculpting ray.
Oh, that's what was coming out of them.
Yeah, it wasn't their heat vision. It was a sculpting ray.
Okay, and then I liked that last one they just got rid of.
Yeah, there was a fourth one.
Yeah, and I liked just having the evil people do stuff and be kind of successful as well because it shows them as an actual threat. A lot of the times
Yeah.
in current ones, the evil guy has a plan and he doesn't achieve any of it, so he doesn't seem very threatening at all.
They took over America.
They were very successful and they were quite the threat.
Yeah, they succeeded in all their plans and then
Yeah.
Superman showed up and had to undo it.
That doesn't happen too, except for like Thanos, that doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't. And then everyone's asking, where's Superman? Well, where was Superman? He was smashing.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm on to the logistics of them getting back
Yeah.
from the fortress.
He flew them there
He did.
and then they're just going to walk back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I would have been so angry if I was Lois.
I would too.
You'd be like, what are we doing now, Clint?"
Didn't even have jackets.
Yeah.
So he flew them there, got rid of his powers, and then it just, the next time you see them, they're driving and they're in America.
Yeah, but also just not only are you an idiot for getting rid of your life-saving pilot, you saved so many lives, but now we have to walk home from the North Pole.
They had no mode of transportation.
Yeah.
I assume they rent that vehicle
Yeah,
that they eventually have.
it's just so inconvenient now.
Yeah.
He even says when they're in the car, he's like, "Yeah, this isn't as fast as flying." And if I was Lois, I'd be like, "Yeah, I know."
We just walked for weeks.
Yeah. I did not enjoy that no power. It was so pointless. It made
it's so
no
short.
sense. Yeah. Why did it have to happen at all? The reasoning was so dumb. It made no sense, and it just there was no point in having that.
Because it would still work if he left to go on a date with Lois, like a little vacation with Lois.
Yeah, he just has no idea,
Yeah, and then he came back. He comes back and he sees the Zod and friends are terrorizing.
and he could still feel bad about it because
Yeah.
he was like, "I'm not paying attention or anything."
But you don't need him depowered.
No.
Because he doesn't even confront them depowered. He just...
Yeah. There was no point to it.
He immediately picks a fight with a guy in the diner.
And loses.
Yeah. Well, I guess that guy picked a fight with him, but he and Lois could have sat at a different table. There was
Yeah.
other empty seats. sheets.
Yeah, that wasn't the best decision by him.
No.
Also, I think he should have been like sobbing like a little baby when that happened because he's never been hurt like that before.
His first time experiencing pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So then, yeah, I didn't like him having a fight with that guy in the diner.
Yeah, me
That didn't
neither.
feel very Superman.
I was thinking that too. Like he would have been nicer about it.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to this. I mean, we'll come back to where we are in our notes. But then at the end of the movie, when he gets his powers back,
Yeah.
Superman is vindictive.
He is.
He seeks that man out
Yeah.
and beats the crap out of him.
Yeah, that was pretty odd as well. Like,
That's how they end the movie.
yeah, I had my issues with that too.
What is going
Like
on
maybe
here?
get back at him in some way, like get him banned from that cafeteria or cafe or diner in some way or something, but not beat the shit out of him while you're a superpowered being.
Right? An expose on something wrong that he's doing for the planet. I don't know.
Yeah, get back at him in some way. It doesn't have to be beat the shit out of him.
No,
Because for Superman to beat on a human, it's like beating on a child.
it is.
Yeah.
I like when Zod and friends, when Superman hasn't gotten his powers yet. Also, they don't show him getting his powers back.
No, when he first showed up to fight Zod with his powers, I was for a second like, what just happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They show him mad in the fortress.
Also, how did he get to the fortress? They showed him
Yeah.
trying to like hitchhike.
He fails.
Also, still in the thinnest jacket ever.
in the North Pole.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if it was actually in the North Pole, and then Lex Luthor at the end says we're in the North Pole.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah, there's some travel issues here.
Logistics. There's a lot of walking away and then back to the fortress.
He would have died. He would have died of hypothermia.
Oh, when he's walking back, they show him walking through the snow, and I like that he picks up some snow and just starts eating it.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
He's probably really thirsty. He's been sustaining himself on snow.
You're not supposed to do that.
Why not?
I've heard it's bad. I've heard it can dehydrate you or something even.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Okay, well, if you didn't hear about this, I don't know how correct I am right now.
Okay, well, I'll look that up later, but I'll stop eating snow, I guess.
Yeah, well, no, you can eat snow in the city because you're close to buildings that can serve you water still.
When I'm in the winter, I'm on a snow-only diet.
But you're not stranded. You can still have access to water. Go ahead and eat snow.
Okay.
Just not when you're stuck in the North Pole.
And then I like when the Kryptonians are terrorizing the Daily Planet, that Lois tries to punch Ursa just to show that Lois is feisty.
She is feisty.
And then
I really like Lois Lane.
Lois
These
is a great
movies.
character in these
Yeah.
movies. Then when she's holding Perry, because Perry's knocked out from Zod putting his head through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then something happens, she drops him. He's like, oh,
That was funny
that
too.
was a funny little joke.
Yeah.
And then I like that Ursa looks at Lois and is like, what an undemanding male this Superman must be. What an insult. She is catty.
What a burn.
Yeah. And then Lois says something back, but it's not as good as that.
Yeah, I don't remember what she says back even.
I got a good chuckle out of that line from Ursa. And then like when they're fighting Superman,
That whole fight with him and the three of them was pretty good.
that was a good third act climax.
Yeah, it was.
And the
Way
effect-
better than the first movie where he's just drowning for 5 minutes.
The third act exciting climax of the first one is him saving people.
I know, but
It's just not as exciting as a
it's
fight.
not
ever.
nearly as cool,
No.
yeah.
And I thought the effects for that held up pretty well.
They did. I was expecting some shit fight, but it was not bad
they
at
were
all.
like flying through buildings and
Yeah.
hitting each other with big stuff.
And they showed it really well. And I like Zod purposely exploding cars just to put citizens in danger.
I like that whole little thing he says. He's like, he actually cares about these insignificant, something like that.
Yeah.
Just, intentionally harming the humans to get to Superman.
That was good.
That's some real good villainy stuff.
And the three actually teamed up on him instead of one at a time. Like they did some good teamwork
they
on
did
them.
combos.
Yeah, they did.
And like, this was back on the civilians, not really giving a damn. The city was under attack. Lois is watching through a window, and then her assistant to the Daily Planet is just excited by the carnage on the streets.
Yeah, maybe 10 years from now when they have Superman, they can be excited. But on the first invasion ever, they should be pretty scared.
They should.
Yeah.
They should be running, but no, that's her assistant was like, oh,
Yeah.
he's getting good.
Yeah.
I think she doesn't say one of them's hot. Maybe she did.
There might have been some sort of...
Is there something like that?
Yeah.
I like how there's a classic civilian mob when they think that Superman died by bus. The civilians rise up and they're like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Yeah.
Spider-Man style.
Another
Spider-Man 2.
parallel, yeah.
Yeah.
Except in Spider-Man, they actually made a difference. They helped at least a little bit. In this one, they just get blown away immediately.
So that is something that I'm unsure about with the super breath. Does it not have to freeze people and things? Can it actually be used push?
I think it can.
I think it can.
I think I've seen that.
How does he choose?
I don't know. How does he, if he can't choose, though, he can never, blow out a candle because it would be ice.
You're onto something there, Gene.
Right?
Yep. And I just have a note here that Gene Hackman's Luthor is so good.
It is so good.
That core trio of Christopher Reeve, Superman, Lois, and Luthor.
It's a solid trio.
Yeah, that really carries these.
Yeah, that's
And
hard to beat.
And I guess that makes sense. That's the core cast.
Yeah.
And then these Superman movies, they keep returning to them when they make a new one. Like Superman Returns is almost a sequel to these.
Yeah.
And then Man of Steel had a lot of parallels to this as well. So every time they make a new Superman movie, they've been readapting, kind of remaking these movies instead of taking from the comic source material.
Yeah.
And that's just so bizarre.
It is bizarre.
And this Superman even had Zod in a headlock, like at the end of Man of Steel.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that. And these movies did it on their own perfectly fine, and they don't want to branch off of these movies. Yeah.
And that's probably why we haven't seen Brainiac in a Superman movie.
It's always Zod or Lex.
That's the only things they adapt.
Yeah, it's weird.
And Zod isn't even an important Superman character.
Zod is not around as often as one would think based off the movies.
Yeah, he's in this movie and Man of Steel, and he's only in Man of Steel because of this movie.
Yeah.
But before this movie, he was a very minor character, not a prominent Superman villain. And then even after this movie, he's not a prominent Superman villain because post-Crisis, they wanted Superman to be the only Kryptonian to meet right away. So when Zod did show up, he was from like a secret digital Earth thing, and that's where the Legion met with Superboy and stuff.
Yeah, in the comics, Zod is... I have comics with him one time, I think.
He's a non-factor.
Yeah.
He's not an important Superman character, but he has the most adaptations outside of Lex Luthor.
This movie got Zod going, I guess,
or because they only remake this movie.
Yeah, Zod has so much to thank with this movie.
He got his wife from this movie.
Yeah, and also like you said, the powers, what the heck, like when all three of them are shooting finger beams at Superman, and then he
reflects it.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
And his crest that he throws on...
plastic wrap as shield.
Yeah. It just grows into something huge.
And I like that Non is even shocked by it. He's like, what the hell was that? Where did that come from?
And they don't bother even trying to explain it.
No, it's just one of his abilities. And then they also all are able to teleport in that fight scene.
Yeah. What was with that?
You could argue it was super speed. It was not super speed. They were teleporting.
It was definitely teleporting.
Because super speed, they'd be able to track each other if they all can move that fast.
Yeah.
And no, they were teleporting.
I like the hologram part.
Okay. But what was with the hologram?
At first, I was like, what's going on? Is this another random power? And then I was like, is this some fortress technology happening right now that he's using? And that's why he brought them to his home base to like have the higher ground.
See, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, one of them was made
One of them was solid.
Yeah. That's what makes me question it. I don't
know. What is happening here?
I in my head, I was like, the fortress made a few holograms and then one ice sculpture of Superman.
Because it can grow things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, we can't be sure of that because they don't bother trying to explain it.
No, nothing is said about it. It just happens. And then of note, Superman does kill Zod in this.
I was wondering where they went when they fall into that pit.
To hell.
To hell?
Yeah.
The fortress makes a pit straight to hell?
It already had a pit to hell.
Okay. So that's where you think that's going.
Yeah. So Superman kills Zod, Non kills himself, and then Lois kills Ursa.
And I think that's because they don't want to hit a woman. At no point in this movie does Superman hit
Ursa. Does he not?
I was watching that actually, and he doesn't know. There's one point where he's about to, but then the big guy grabs him from behind, and that's when she grabs a pipe and he dodges.
I was very careful of him because I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And then that's why Lois defeated her, I guess.
Lois got 2 punches on Ursa.
Yeah.
Wow. Because for Superman in this, I suppose, the hammers of justice are not unisex.
Yeah, I like to watch for that sometimes with older stuff. I don't know why. It's just something I pay attention to. I want to see if they got the balls to do it. Fun fact, in Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond, Batman Terry only throws the DDs. He doesn't hit them. He only throws them. Yeah.
See, in Batman the Brave and the Bold, there's a joke about him being willing to punch women.
I know that joke because it's hilarious.
And it comes up more than once.
Really?
Yeah. So he punches women semi-frequently in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. A criminal's a criminal.
A progressive Batman.
Yeah. And then it bothered me as well because I thought, like, I'm over our issues here, Lois. Like, I can have my powers and be with you.
Yeah.
But that's not the conclusion they came to.
No. So they, of course, concluded with amnesia kiss.
Yes.
It's the only way to end this movie.
One of Superman's most famous powers.
Yes.
I hated that.
His roofie kiss.
Yeah. What was with that?
I don't know. That's another classic Lois Lane article waiting to happen right there.
Yeah. Her roofie kisses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't like that her memory was wiped. She should just be remembering him. Like, she can just know. Even if they didn't want them together, they can just have her know in the next movie.
Have them have a little melancholy about it.
Yeah, she can just be sad about it, but no. She's not going to reveal it to the public.
And she didn't remember the events of this movie at the end there.
Yeah, that concerned me as well. So what does she think just happened?
How far back does the amnesia kiss go?
I was thinking maybe she remembers it just without the events of her knowing, but then she fully says what's been happening lately.
So it was a full mind wipe.
Yeah, that seems...
It's a problematic power there, Mr. Superman.
Yeah. Actually, he does that. He wipes a woman's mind of them having slept together and then goes to beat up some random human at the diner immediately after.
Not a good look.
No.
So do you think he had to kiss her to give her amnesia? Or that was just a little flair he added?
I think it's within his lips.
Amnesia? Oh.
Yeah, and he can activate it like a snake.
Do you think all the other times they kissed, he was giving her like a little amnesia?
Yeah, I think she thinks they only kissed once.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh wait, but then on the last kiss she would have forgotten again. Maybe she thinks they only had sex and didn't kiss once.
Because he doesn't kiss during sex?
That's what she thinks, but he was kissing. She just forgot each time.
Okay. So he doesn't have control over the amnesia kiss?
No.
In your opinion?
He has to be careful.
Okay. That's pretty wild.
It is. Well, it's a wild power.
And then they presumably left Lex Luthor to die in the fortress. Because they showed them flying back.
Yeah.
And Luthor joked about them leaving him, but he wasn't on Superman's back or anything.
No. Also, side note about earlier, actually, it was hilarious when Lex was riding on Ursa.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think Lois would be on Ursa and Luthor would be on Non, but no. They had Luthor full.
I guess with their power, it doesn't matter who carries who, but it looked funny.
It did.
Yeah.
Just fully mounted on Ursa there.
Yeah. I would like to say, even with those issues, I did still like this one better because I thought it was entertaining throughout.
Okay.
The first one, I was so bored in the first 50 minutes. This one, I had me at least entertained throughout. There was just those issues with random stuff like that, but I was entertained.
So last week, we gave Superman 1978. We decided on a C for it.
Yes.
Where are you putting Superman 2?
Well, if you remember correctly, I had to compromise on a C.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I would say C again, but like to say since it has to be better. Actually, it's just a Superman tier list, so I'm okay putting it at B, actually. Like as far as Superman movies go, I would say this is a B.
No, it has to be for all superhero movies.
We said we're keeping it separate from the MCU tier list.
Okay, so for all Superman movies, this one's a B.
Yeah.
So I did like the first one more, but for the sake, I would give this one a C. But it's hard to do a split in this.
So you want it to be a D then?
No.
So D is too low.
D is too low, and I think it's a C, but you think it's a B.
Well, but also you like the first one more. And
I do.
But you wanted that one as B.
Yeah, I did. We're in a tricky spot here.
Yeah, we are.
I'll concede for this one to be a B for you.
Well, they could just both be C's.
Okay, we'll put this at a C.
Because on average, it's two people. One liked it better, one liked the other one better. Yeah. It makes sense for both of them to be C.
Okay, we'll have both. This is a C. Along with the first one.
What do you think James Gunn's Superman will be?
I think it was going to be an S.
I'm scared to say, but I think it's going to be an S as well.
The first trailer got me really excited.
Oh my God.
It was really good.
Or
not the first trailer, the recent trailer.
Yeah, like the actual full trailer.
When they have Guy Gardner doing a construct hand.
Badass.
That was just such a him move.
It was. It was just like, I don't care about you. Yeah.
Just being an ass.
Also, I loved his Superman voice as well when he says Miss Lane before the interview. Oh my! And also, he fixed his posture and everything too to be Superman, even though it was an audio recording.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I liked that.
It looks good all around.
Oh my!
There's a lot happening, so the only concern is how's all this fitting into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
but
I'm quite excited.
And they haven't shown Metamorpho in the trailers, so I don't know what's going on with him.
He was in there.
Oh, he was, but he's not doing it. He's in captivity or something.
Yeah, I feel like his whole part of the movie will be in captivity.
Superman's trying to get him out of captivity from the U.S. government or something.
Yeah, they must just be capturing superpowered people, yeah.
Or they made him. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Metamorpho can beat Superman, usually.
How?
He can turn into kryptonite.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's how they capture him.
Or why?
Or maybe they keep him, how they keep him there.
They try to make him as a weapon against Superman or something.
Yeah, and then Superman can talk to him about morals.
Yeah.
While they're both imprisoned.
Yeah, that works for me.
That would be great.
That would be good stuff. So we gave this one a C, and we'll be coming back to you next week to talk about Superman 3, which I'm pretty sure is famously bad, and we will see where we give that.
I think from now on, they're going to be famously bad.
Probably.
Yes.
I have hope for
Superman 3, Superman 4, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman.
I have hope for Superman Returns. I don't know why.
I, for some reason, have a little more hope for that one, too.
Yeah.
I only know the one scene where a guy shoots him in the eyeball.
And that was a cool scene.
When I was a kid, I would often think, what if he got shot in the eye? And then I saw that scene, I was like, okay, that's what would happen.
Really, this checks out.
Yeah.
There's one of those parody movies, I think it's Epic Movie, where they recreate that scene, but he actually does get shot in the eye.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
That's pretty funny.
This has been Kicking Trees, episode 9. I'm Carter.
I'm Xander.
And we'll see you next week with Superman 3.